A lot of retirees don't want to inherit new debt because they're older. And I'm going to tell y'all something about inheriting debt when you're older. Take on as much debt as you can. This is just my opinion. Take it all on. You know why? Because when I die, let them deal with it. Let my life insurance policies pay for the debt. I want to go travel. I want to have me a house over here. I want to go do this. I want to do all those things and not think about my old way of thinking, how I'm going to pay that bill. Spend that money. Get that debt. Let that debt die with you because you don't have to deal with it. All you should care about is how many life insurance policies you got lined up and you paying for. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the eye of the storm. You could have been anywhere in the world tonight, but you were here with me. And for that, I want to thank you. Now, in this eye of the storm, I want to talk about something because somebody sent me a message. YouTube really works when you send me messages. Like, I hear you. I really read the comments, right? So somebody sent a comment about me talking about buying when you get older, having real estate and being able to refinance that real estate, or they should keep that real estate when they get older. Should they not sell it? They want to keep it for their family. They don't want to sell it. But then when you guys listen to those who may not have listened to last week, Eye of the Storm, I specifically talked about not holding on to your assets and living in stress, living and not be able to feed yourself, not being able to pay your bills. Social Security is only half of what you were making, but you still have this house worth $700,000 or $1 million, and it's worth, you probably bought it when it was $80,000, like a lot of people I know in Bed-Stuy, but the taxes are going up and you can't afford it. You cannot afford to refinance that house. You can't do anything because now you're retired. How are you going to refinance this house? So what should you do? And I said, you know what? I want to talk about that. So today, which, I like doing my research, I want to talk about growing old in America, right? For me, when I was reading this, I said to myself, growing old isn't a bad thing. It's how you're growing old, where you're growing old. It could be a detriment to your life and to your existence. Like, just think about it. You're growing old, you're somewhere where you can afford to live. The weather's great, food is great. The atmosphere is great. The climate is great. You're on the beach, or you're in the country, or you're down south, wherever it is you want to be. But the point is, you're retired and you're living good. You're living good. And I got to put this on and put my LL Cool J on, get my chapstick popping. So growing old isn't a bad thing. It just depends on how you're growing old, where you're growing old. Can you afford to grow old? And I wanted to talk about that. Is growing old in America a detriment? Not growing old now. I said growing old in America. And what does that look like? And also for the younger generations, I thought about them when they're going to grow old. So I'm going to talk about that. What are some of the struggles senior citizens have, especially now with Social Security? And I can definitely speak on it, not because I'm collecting Social Security, because my mother is, and I know how much she gets, and I know how much I help her. And I know without me helping her, me and my brothers, my sister, doing stuff for her, no way would she be able to survive just off Social Security here in America. No way on God's green earth. I literally we have to give our mother money differently than through her bank account or some other way, because if they spot that, they was calling our income, and then they wanted to take away some of her Social Security because they looked at that as income. Me giving her money, my brother, sister giving her money. So we had to go through a whole nother route. So here are some of my things that I've got from all these notes. So I'm going to be, I'm going to try not to look down as much, but it's really a lot of information that I really got. And one of the main things is inflation. Inflation is outpacing everybody's salary, let alone Social Security and us getting old. Now, I need you to get into the frame of mind of you getting older. If you are older, what does that look like? That's like a running theme for me. Getting older, how much money we're able to make, how much we're able to save. growing old together by yourself, what does that look like? Where's money coming from? How can you be comfortable? If one person happened to get injured, break a hip, could you take care of both of you? Like, these are things we have to think about. Like, you have to literally think about who is that other person, especially if you're by yourself. Those that are single or divorced, widowers. I think I got that right. Widowers or widowies. You have to think about who that person is going to be. If you're by yourself, are you going to stay that way? And if you are young, man, they say youth is wasted on the young. Like right now, I'm older, I can like relate. It's like, damn, if I only knew, there's a reason why we didn't know the things we know now when we were young, then we wouldn't have a chance to experience life. We really would have been like not walking on edge, would have been like, nope, I'm not going to do this. But, you know, we're young for a reason. So when you're young, you need to consider, who is that person that's who might be pushing you in the wheelchair when you're older? And sorry to say this, and I could be wrong. I can live with that. 70% of the time, it won't be somebody in your family. It won't be that person who asked you for money over and over again, who at the barbecue, they get $20. Or it won't be, might not even be your own children who are there to push you in that wheelchair throughout life. You literally look up and go, man, I can't believe it was you. You need to consider that. But, you know, when you're young, maybe you won't consider that. But even like, okay, there's always things where I go, damn, do I say this? But, you know, I'm going to give you a backdrop that look into my mind, like how I decided when I would say to myself, who I'm going to marry. Like there was this thing this older gentleman said, and I thought about it and I said, damn, that's a good way to look at it, about who would you marry? He said, no, you put looks and all this other stuff, like all that stuff wears off. He said, who's going to be the one that's going to push me around in a wheelchair if I lose both my arms, both my legs? All I am is a torso and a head, and she's going to push me around and love me like I was walking beside her holding hands. That's who I want to marry. That shit hit me like, wow. But inflation outpaces our salaries and retirement. Rising cost of medical. Like I understand that with my mom, like I said, it's the rising cost of benefits, her going to the doctor, these co-payments, and then losing a portion of medical. And then they want you to get on this plan, this whatever plan it is. And then this Medicare don't cover this. And, you know, just recently we had to take care of some things with her. And it was a lot of out-of-pocket costs because they didn't take care of it. You know, also pensions now are gone, and now they're implementing 401ks. But 401ks are impacted through the climate of the market. And when COVID hit and the market took a bad turn for the worse, I know a lot of people at Verizon who had to go back to work because their 401k dropped too low for them to be able to retire. They literally had plans to retire in 1 year, 2 years. They were going to retire. They were literally out the door, gone out the door. But guess what happened? COVID hit, money went down. It went from $1 million down to $500,000 or half down. They lost half or whatever it was. It's harder to survive now that we're at this age. And the equity part in your home, a lot of older people bought their houses, especially from where I'm from, Bed-Stuy. And I remember talking to one older lady on the block, and I said, how much did you pay for your house? You know, knowing the value of what they are now. This was about 5 years ago. House is now like $1 million, brownstones. She said, I paid $70,000 for my house. I was like, wow, $70,000. She said, yes, the owner of the house, you know, and now it's worth over $1 million. But here's the problem, which I mentioned in the last episode. Even though you may have $1 million worth of equity in your house, older person that's retired can't refinance the house They don't have the salary to show that they can pay that back. They don't have that debt to credit ratio. They don't have enough income to qualify for a mortgage most of the time, a great amount of time. Refinancing, still not able to qualify. So they have all this equity in this house, and now they're not able to pull none of this equity out that house. So now they're trying to survive off the pension, and they have all this money that's trapped in the walls. And one of the most saddest parts about that is that their family, some of them are literally just waiting for them to pass away so they can all get the house that's worth $1 million. Like, it's not going over there to help grandma, going over there to see grandma, or even calling grandma. It's like knowing grandma has the house. You know, she's older now. It's worth a lot of money. She's making it. Or it's the resemblance of you think she's making it when actually she's not doing that well off. You know, my thing is sell grandmama's house. I'm not going to sit around and watch my grandmother struggle to eat, survive, pay bills, pay medical, and that house is worth money without me coming to a conclusion on, look, we're going to refinance this house. Are we going to sell this house? We're going to get her another house, or this discussion with her. I'm not looking to displace grandma at all. Let's have the discussion. If grandma's on board, we're going into a senior building or taking that money and going to retire down south, whatever it is. But as long as she can be comfortable, I want to exhaust every opportunity so I don't have to think about my grandmother in there barely surviving and eating cans of tuna all the time. Like, that won't sit well. But you have a lot of family members who are in that place where they're fine with that. And sometimes, you have to look at it like this. Sometimes you have to have these conversations and make these decisions for our grandparents for the greater good, because they going, I worked hard to get this house and I want to leave this house to my grandchildren, But like I said, our grandchildren now don't even call their grandmothers. That's a shame. She's trying to leave this legacy for them, and their grandkids don't even know her. Don't even reach out to make the phone call to her. So I think there need to be a realization, even if you don't want to leave the house, look at putting your name or someone in the family's name who you can trust on the property, refinance the property. Let him or her enjoy their later years and not have to look at the struggle. Especially if you hear and come from their brain, their mouth, they want to leave something for y'all, but nobody's doing nothing to make them comfortable. Check in. So getting that refinance, doing that with the property is really one of the hardest things, almost impossible to do. A lot of things, even if you are older and you thinking about putting that property and refinancing, or you may have enough to refi. A lot of retirees don't want to inherit new debt because they're older. And I'm going to tell y'all something about inheriting debt when you're older. Take on as much debt as you can. This is just my opinion. Take it all on. You know why? Because when I die, let them deal with it. Let my life insurance policies pay for the debt. I want to go travel. I want to have me a house over here. I want to go do this. I want to do all those things and not think about my old way of thinking, how I'm going to pay that bill. Spend that money. Get that debt. Let that debt die with you, because you don't have to deal with it. All you should care about is how many life insurance policies you got lined up and you paying for. But I need us to get out of that frame. Get up that frame of mind of going, oh, I'm going to manage these books. I'm going to manage dealing with this payment. Man, I told y'all. When I leave, my main goal is to borrow as many millions of dollars as I can from all of my companies when I'm in another country and buy as much stuff as I can. Period. Listen, I deal with that bill when I come back to the States. I pay y'all when I pay y'all. Y'all gonna get paid. Oh, but you're gonna come foreclose? You're gonna come foreclose on my developments I got going on over here in Indonesia, in Bali, in Thailand? Oh, you're going to come up? No, you can't. You ain't got no jurisdiction here. We're just going to come over here and try to close my business I opened up over here? Nope, you ain't got no jurisdiction there. So what are you gonna do? Okay, so you mean you're gonna wait? Oh, you gonna put a bad credit rating on me? Well, I left the U.S. with 5 million, so I'll be all right. You will flip 5 million to 10 million. Like, y'all gotta understand something. Wealthy people take a lot of debt and file bankruptcy, but we got morals and scruples. We got morals and scruples. I need y'all to stop that. I need y'all to stop that. Huh? How many of them you see file bankruptcy and then go borrow another 20 million? There's a show on Netflix right now where he borrowed $800 million and he literally was having them say, you know what? I'm going to pay you back 800 million, almost $1 billion. He said, I'm going to give y'all back 300 million, take it or leave it. And they really was like, shit, what are we going to do? We are nice. You know why? Because we were taught and put under that pressure. If you don't pay this, we're going to come lock you up. We're going to come. Man, listen. All right, you know what? Watch me. Just watch me. Watch me. So traditional home equity lines of credit, those won't work. We already went over that. Cash out refinancing, most of it won't be an option. They don't have sufficient income. Selling the house, which is always the option, but like I mentioned, you don't want to, when an older person been living somewhere for so many years, they ain't trying to move. You know, you got to respect that. They're not trying to move. You know, when, my mom's who was living her place for the longest, and it was like, Ma, I need to get you a place. We got to get out of here. As time, she's like, oh, I don't know. I want to go. I don't know. So, we found her a place. I said, Ma, it's time. It's time. Downsize. So selling the house, you don't want to disrupt them. And the Social Security benefits, which, I lightly went into that. Social Security was designed to be sort of a supplement of some of your income when it was created by Roosevelt. Don't quote me. I think it's 1935 and 1934 Social Security, which is really a design for hardships, losing your job, and for replacing the breadwinner in the house if they were to die. But it wasn't meant for you to be something that you can live off. Benefits, even our salary is not keeping pace of the cost of living. Interest rates 3 years ago up until today went up by 8%. Could you imagine that? 8% increase in 8 years. So they're looking at another 2% interest hike next year. We know the older we get, slip and falls, stuff like that, it happens. We have to be able to take care of ourselves. A lot of us, we might end up in a nursing home and things of that nature, and Medicare is not going to cover those expenses of a lot of that. Mention that. We have some things to take care of. So we need to consider, what does growing old in America look like for you? What does it look like? One thing that bothered me, and I had a conversation with a young lady, she found out that her dad, who retired, couldn't afford to get mortgages and refinance. He got a reverse mortgage on his home. And that was tough. She literally started going into tears because she didn't know until he passed away, and they came forward and said, nope, we get the house. Reverse mortgage, for those that don't know, is they pay you for the value of your house, but when you no longer, like the commercials say, when you're no longer in your home, that means when you pass away, they get the house. Your family can't come along and pay it off. They can't, nothing. They get the house. So she was trying to find out ways to get the property. And I said, sweetheart, those are normally ironclad, where there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. It's their house once that person passes away. And she said, she wished she would have known, and things of that nature, brothers and sisters. And I said, believe it or not, there are signs. And if there weren't signs, somebody need to ask some questions. Dad, how's it going? Mom's, how's it going? Grandma, how are they eating? How's their health? What are they able to do? Are they able to, I had to be some bills, there is signs, y'all. But sometimes we're so blind, and we get rhetorical with, How you doing? Are you okay? And what is the normal response to that question? Yeah, I'm okay. You see people fall, scuff their knee, break an arm, bang their head, and you go, oh, what? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I just bust my head. No, you're not okay. That question isn't the one. You need to deep dive. You need to get in depth. You need to find out. See, for me, the question is, even with our children and family, are you enjoying your life today? What is it about your life that makes you love living? When you start asking questions like that, that's when they're going to go, damn, well, goddamn, what is it about my life I love today? And that goes for like in our relationships, our marriages. We have to stop being so rhetorical, and I'm at fault for that. Like, I admit I'm not the best husband. I'm a hell of a boyfriend. I'm a hell of a dater. I am like, listen to me, I'm one of the best. Top three. Top three. But you marry me, now that's different. Because my goals, my focus is locked in. And now I go, okay, we're here. You see where I'm going. Let's do this thing. We will tend to lose that focus while the woman will still have that focus of what she wants, and which is a good thing. Y'all just need to remind us. Moving into a low cost area, that may help stretch your retirement savings further. Why do I like that one? Why do I like that one? Should be like, because if inflation is outpacing us and everything else is outpacing your salary, your retirement, there are 5.3 million people who used to live in the United States that don't. Y'all know where I'm going. Don't act like you don't know. I'm not asking you to leave one area, go to somewhere the rent's lower, you go buy a house for cheap and it's not safe. What I'm saying is, you might want to think about the world is your oyster. Grab your pearl. Like, the world is your oyster. Think about living good, and maybe that might be. But there's also other alternatives, which I'm just going to throw in a few before I stay on that topic. Renting out a portion of your home could provide additional income, but I don't recommend that for nobody older. Little things like that may bring in money. So now that I'm talking about 5.3 million people used to live in America and moved abroad. Last year, over 1 million baby boomers left America to take their pensions abroad. Most of them went to Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Portugal, and Malaysia. What do most of all these have in common? Weather's great. The average cost of living. And these are not, healthcare is good. No matter what people say, a lot of these places have great healthcare. And you have millionaires who are living in these countries because their money is going a lot further there and they want to live there. So I am throwing this out. Mexico, the climate, average cost of living is 50 to 60% less than the United States. Costa Rica, which has had the largest boom, they are literally opening up a new highway on the other side of Costa Rica and building an airport so they can now give exposure to that side of Costa Rica. In that land, if you're watching this and it's not a year into the future, looking to get in some land on the other side of Costa Rica before that airport comes in. Panama, which has now increased their infrastructure, excellent healthcare, the visa program, which I will be getting into a lot of that inside my community. I have a space with out of state, out of the country investing in visas and passports. So Panama has a great visa program, and the cost of living is 40 to 50% less. Portugal, which had a great visa program, which was the golden ticket, which now they put on hold because a lot of Americans are there now. So that's really shows you where people are running to and how serious they are. I had friends that opened up a restaurant in Portugal, and restaurant they purchased it from, he didn't never stay open past 8. That they stay open literally 10 o'clock and on weekends 1, 2. Portugal has a nightlife due to the Americans now, so many living there, who wants to work late, stay out late, and enjoy. And it's 30 and 40% less. Malaysia, 40 to 60%, great climate, modern amenities, traditional culture. See, my thing is you should never suffer what's going on and saying, I worked hard and now I want to leave these things for my family, which is great, but also you should have a great quality of life. Like that should be number one. And nobody is going to be more concerned in your quality of life than you. I remember working for Verizon, and I went working at this. We were running new lines to this house. And every house that was not occupied, we would cut the lines because they were going to run new lines eventually. But if you had service, we couldn't cut it. So we get to this house and we look in the yard and we see these, no, I lie to you not, 2 huge holes in the roof, 2-story house, birds flying in and out the roof. So we're like, nobody live here. We cut the line. So next thing you know, we get this guy pulls up. I swear this is not an exaggeration. The dude pulls up in like a Corvette. He says, yeah, my mother's line is out. We're like, your mother? He says, yeah, the house. So we walk back with him because we were up the block. It's the gray house with the 2 big holes in the roof with the birds flying in and out the roof. I said, you gotta be kidding me. I could not believe it. Like, your mother's living. I'm looking at him and I'm looking at the car, got a suit on. I'm like, how are you letting your mother live like this? Nobody should live like that. No one should have their mother living like that as far as I'm concerned. But it's out there. It's up to us as the individuals to now start thinking about putting yourself in a position to win with your salary and your money, right? But what does this look like for the younger generations? Because now the younger generations now, they need to start thinking about what does that future look like for them? Their salaries, job market, which a lot of jobs are not going to be there due to AI technology, pensions. Will pensions be around in 30 years? I doubt it highly. Pensions are not around now, so let me pull that back. A lot of pensions, I remember a lot of companies pull back the pensions for 401ks. Will 401ks be around in the future? I doubt that highly. But my thing is this: what are the programs that are showing that they're viable for the next generation? And I did some searching, and let's talk about the FHAs, the NACAs, and all these programs to buy housing, right? These programs are not going to be working in the future because the prices are too high. You can't get an FHA and put 2.5% down on $1 million, $2 million house. NACA, a lot of these programs are not going to work for that generation. So you're actually seeing it now where a lot of first-time home buyers, these programs are hard to get people into because areas that were once bad areas where you could get houses, they're not cheap anymore. So what does that look like? I want to see, and Dag, I hate that I'm getting ready to go there, right? But it's just going to be quick. I don't want to live on this every talk. Until somebody shows me a program for my grandchildren of what does the housing look like for them, and they're setting aside housing, they're setting aside programs, they're setting aside something for them. You can't ask me who am I voting for until November. Regardless, that's not like this is bigger than us. You have to start thinking about what is it like for them? Because if I'm in my 60s, 70s, or 80s, and I'm comfortable, I'm living abroad and I have enough money, or I'm even living here and I made enough money to take care of myself. Even if you have a house with a lot of value, a lot of equity, I need you to remember taxes go up all the time. This is one of the ways a lot of people lose their homes due to rising taxes, even when the house is paid off. Taxes keep going up and they can't pay it. Taxes, water, all those amenities there, which will eventually catch up with you. But what does that look like for them? If they can't afford to buy real estate barely now in these programs, which in the next 15 years, using the numbers now, I use the AI program, right? I'm sorry, like use the rate of inflation now with the rising price of houses to tell me how long would these programs be even valid to use with the salaries. Like 15 years, you won't be able to use none of these programs. Mostly none of those programs. You got to be exact with people now. Like, people are so anal with you being wrong that they go, no. Anyway, so these programs, most of them will not be available for your grandchildren or your children. So think about that. If inflation is going up another 2%, if housing is going up, if houses in Alabama, which were once $40,000, are now $160,000 and $200,000, the people who are living there, their salary is not going up just as fast as the price of that home. What does that look like for the family living there and the children growing up in that house? Especially if they're paying rent. They're going to be forced to move. Where are they going to move to? To roommate with 5 or 6 people. That's why I don't agree with kicking children out the house just for them to have 5 or 6 roommates. If they can, if 2 or 3 of your children can live in that house, get jobs, and everybody now starts buying houses for those children, I'm on board. If there's other reasons where they can't live in a house due to other things, then cool. Then they gotta go. Growing old in America, is that a detriment to my livelihood? Because I don't want anybody to sit around and now can't afford to have a good lifestyle after working 35, 40 years or 50 years for a company. And that's probably where a lot of us are going to be at if we don't hear the same repetitive thing over and over again, right? Success lies into the breadcrumbs that you're going to leave yourself. Like success, willingness to adapt. If you don't start to adapt, you will start to liquidate, one or the other. What you have now will not work later. What we have now, what I have now, is not going to be anything when it comes to later on. Be happy and proud of what you achieve, but realize these are temporary achievements. You sitting there, enjoying life, getting older, looking at your children, looking at your husband, looking at your wife, looking at your grandchildren, should always follow, I would never want me to be a burden to them. I never forget sitting at the dinner table with my mother. I said, I want to have a dinner with her. This was like just last year, not too long ago. And I cooked dinner for her, and she's sitting there across from me, and I took time to look at her. Really look. Like I looked at the wrinkles. I looked at her cheeks. I looked at her neck. I looked at all the lines. I really, really looked at the aging of my mother in front of me. Because when you're young, you only know your parents as adults. You are growing, but you just know them as adults. And you really don't notice them getting old until you really take the time to go, wow, they got old. And they was always older. And that really like punched me in the mouth. Like, pow. You know, you see that cataract, that, you know, the eyes with the little blue, it gets around the cataract. And you're like, wow, man, I got to make sure she's straight, she good. And then I got to make sure when I turn around and look up and see who pushing my wheelchair, that that's somebody who's doing it because they love me and not because of the things I'm going to leave for them. What I want to do is read off something to y'all that I like kind of put together. It's like sort of my outro thing that I think I just want to start doing a little bit. You know, like what we need to have is a serious discussion on the harsh realities about aging in the country and the bleak future that awaits far too many of the younger generations. The American dream, we were sold that, right? Work hard, buy a house, retire, comfortable pension, quickly became the fantasy for most of us. The seniors, after decades of working, millions of elderly Americans find themselves struggling to survive. Social Security checks, pensions are barely enough to cover the basics. We wrestle with the impossible choice, putting food on the table or paying life-saving medication. Even those who did everything right, still are facing these hardships. Save money, you bought a house, you did everything. They find themselves in need. Why? Because the cost of living is continuously rising beyond the income that we're making. Even those with jobs are making. So retirement is even worse. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity. We watch people have these trapped into the walls. And a lot of family members are just waiting for us, unfortunately, to pass away so they can inherit that property. And now you are left in a situation where your final years of your life isn't lived up to its fullest potentials like you saw it could be. And now really a glimpse into the younger generations. Eventually, you will be getting old. What kind of future is left for them to look forward to? Housing prices, astronomically high. Programs most likely won't be around. Areas that were once considered the hood, they will not be able to afford. Most of them will be forced to become forever renters. Retirements, the days of company pensions, over 401ks that will be predicated by the stock market are now the thing, and they are at risk if the stock market crashes. Just look what happened to COVID. I personally know several people at Verizon, like I mentioned, were impacted by this. Assuming Social Security is still around in 30 years, do you think it will be enough to help you survive? Do you think? Today's young people, I need to inform you about some information. You need to leave things in place to safeguard your existence and your future so you not be a hindrance or thought of as a hindrance. So you can live for yourself and you can live independently, and that may not be where you're at now. And that may not even be United States of America. So what's the solution? Do we pack up and move to Mexico, Thailand, Costa Rica, Malaysia, or somewhere else further out? And the answer is maybe. Maybe that is the future. Maybe that is what it's going to take. Grow old, live comfortable, live means for yourself, and most importantly, being able to live independently and enjoy your life. Somebody asked me, they said, Storm, you don't talk about real estate anymore. Are you still talking about real estate? I said, you know what? I do talk about real estate because I talk about freedom. Freedom. Real estate falls under the umbrella of freedom. You won't be able to achieve real estate. You won't be able to achieve wealth. You won't be able to have anything, create businesses or nothing if you don't have freedom. So with that being said, freedom is always first. And I need you guys to never forget to always seek knowledge. You could have been anywhere in the world tonight, but you were here with me. And I want to thank you for allowing me to have my therapeutic time to talk with y'all. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. I see you guys on the next Eye of the Storm. God bless and good night. Peace.